On May 11th, 2018, yours truly made a video called Newspapers Are the Most Exciting Part of One Piece, and I hate to flex on you, but I stand by that. In fact, I would even go a step further than that. I wouldn't only say newspapers are the most exciting part of One Piece, which I still think is true, but I'm gonna go ahead and drop this bombshell right here. Newspapers and the media are the biggest flex in One Piece. Welcome, women and gentlewomen, to the dawn of a new series, well, a new-ish series on the Lord Nuxanor channel. I've done One Piece videos, I've done flex videos. Today I'm going to be talking about an individual flex from a series. The single biggest flex the series has done in its history. I have one of these planned for the biggest flex of 2019 anime and the biggest flex of Hunter x Hunter, but I wanted to start with One Piece mostly because chapter 957 of One Piece was goddamn amazing. Now, I will not really be spoiling much. In fact, I'd argue I'm spoiling very goddamn little. I'm gonna be talking about the biggest flex One Piece has done. Now, there is a lot of flexing in One Piece. Shanks flexed on the entire One Piece political world, time and time again. The Mad Lad stopped Kaido from venturing to the Marineford War, and then he himself went to the Marineford War to stop it by not doing anything, by just saying, if you want the war to continue, I'll mess in. And the Whitebeard pirates, the Blackbeard squad, and the Marines were all like, oh, no, nothing going on here of note at all, no, sir. Scared absolutely shitless. That's a huge flex. You have the fact that Kaido's so immortal, he lets himself get captured and they try to execute him, but the execution tools break on the bastard. That is a massive flex. You have someone like Enel, you know, the lightning guy from the Skypiea arc. Well, this guy was so goddamn powerful, it got to the point where he flexed on the Skypeans so hard, they thought he was God. That's a huge flex. And I am saying that despite all of the tons of flexing from every corner of the vast and brilliant One Piece world, the single goddamn biggest flex in One Piece is the media. It's not just the newspapers. It's the whole idea of how media travels in One Piece. The media, the bounties, people's reputation that precedes them. I have never once in my life seen a series quite like One Piece in many ways. I've never seen world building as vast as One Piece, but I've also never seen the media within any individual world actually flex on me so goddamn hard. Fun random fact that has absolutely nothing to do with the video. I couldn't figure out why a certain video was being demonetized, and then it turns out that it's because I titled the video "The Anime That Flexed Too Hard," and everything that has the word hard in it gets demonetized. I don't see that as fair, YouTube. Anyway, just had to get that out there somewhere. Appreciate the venting abilities, fam. But now, before even discussing the art of the media and Big News Morgan's the Mad Lad Yonko level badass himself, I really wanted to talk about Bounties. Bounties is one of my favorite aspects of One Piece that I don't feel like gets as much credit as it deserves. It's somehow managed to toe the line between power levels and clout levels, and it's this fine line between the two that makes Bounties as beautiful as they are. The idea of power levels in general is extremely fun when executed properly. The downside, it's never, ever executed properly. The idea that the fan base can actually have a very defined mindset as far as the general power scaling in any individual work of art is so fun. It helps us understand the very world building and why every character is given the amount of respect they are given throughout. Now, the major issue with this is plot holes everywhere. Every anime that actually introduces power levels immediately gets it nerfed or retconned to some degree. The two examples that pop into my head first are obviously Dragon Ball and Seven Deadly Sins. First, Seven Deadly Sins. In the beginning of season 2, they're like, oh, everyone has power levels. Look, Meliodas has like 3,000, and these other pretty good Holy Knight guys have 2,000. Meliodas is so damn strong. Then you introduce the 10 Commandments, who all have power levels of like 30 and 40,000, so they're way stronger. And then we need Meliodas to later overpower them. So damn, he gets a power level of like 140,000 when he's in assault mode. And we need Escanor the One to manage to overpower him. And then we need the Demon King to overpower him. And then we need Meliodas at the end of the story to come back. Meliodas now has a power level of like 800,000 at least. And I'm not even exaggerating if you were to take every power level at face value. So Meliodas with 800,000 power level compared to Gil Thunder with a grand total of 2,000 power level. Yeah, they kind of realized where they oofed somewhere along the way, and power levels very much disappear in middle of the Ten Commandments saga for very good reason. Merlin had a power level like 4,500, and then it turns out she can fight with all the top guys without even getting stronger. Oh no, that's because she actually had the Infinity Spell, and the Infinity Spell allows her to draw out infinite times her power. Yeah, sure, that makes a ton of sense, Mrs. 4,500 power level. No thank you! And Dragon Ball suffers the same fate, just over a far broader spectrum. Dragon Ball power scaling is a topic for an entire other day, perhaps in my bad fandom series that I was working on. But there's a reason why power levels disappeared after Namek. Now in One Piece, we managed to get all the passion and excitement from understanding the various power levels of different characters, and that's through bounties. Bounty does not define anyone's individual strength. No! If it would suffer the same fate as everything else. Luffy in the beginning's fighting Crocodile, and Crocodile only has a bounty of 81 million! That sounds impressive at face value if you don't have anything to compare it against, but it's literally nothing compared to what we're dealing with now. And that's simply because when Crocodile became one of the 7 warlords of the sea, the world government temporarily froze his bounty because he was sort of working with them to some capacity. It makes perfect sense, and it also explains why his low bounty of 81 million for his strength level is actually set up the way it is. Now, you have someone like Enel, on the other hand, as well, who is an absolute terror. I mean, if we're talking about huge flexes, this guy convinced an entire nation that he was a god, because anyone within his domain of the Sky Islands that disobeyed him, well, with his massively long earlobes, he was somehow able to hear them and then smite them down with a divine strike of lightning. Yes, that is massive flex, hugely awesome, and this dude had no bounty because the world government did not know he existed. It very much leaves you to speculation exactly how strong he is in regards to other players. Perhaps Luffy was only able to defeat him because he was vastly outmatched when it came to Pokemon type advantages. Your electric type doesn't affect my rubber type. You know what I'm talking about. And because of this, a bounty was never discussed, it was never implemented, and therefore when Enel comes back, no matter how powerful he is, it will be completely understandable within the given events of the story. It is beautiful. It completely avoids so much retconning as far as bringing back old characters, and it also doesn't require giving ridiculously high bounty levels to old characters that Luffy manages to beat at the time. It perfectly explains any given situation from a future perspective, and I love that. But that is only looking at it from the future to the past. As far as retconning goes, the bounty predicament completely avoids all the major issues with giving defined power levels to characters because they are very much not defined at all. Bounties, as I've mentioned, is not only referring to power, but it's referring to clout. If a pirate does a really atrocious act, they are given a higher bounty. If they are a political threat to the world, then they are given a higher bounty. As a simple proof to this, Luffy was weaker than Katakuri in the whole Cake Island arc. I think that goes without saying, and it was due to an ideological conflict that Katakuri actually lost that fight. Katakuri had a bounty of approximately $1 billion, and when Luffy finished with Whole Cake Island, his bounty skyrocketed to 1.5 billion. 50% higher than the character he just fought and was weaker then. So, clearly, bounties do not represent power, they represent power times clout. And that is the beauty, in a nutshell, of this very non-defined power scaling system of bounties. But it's more than that. It also contains the most beautiful flexnacious abilities, which is really what prompted me to make this video. Thank you, God, for giving us the glory and beauty of chapter 957. Checkmate atheists and vegans and also all of PETA for some reason. Damn, I got really worked up there. When bounties were first introduced to the story, they were a stigma. Now they have a bounty on your head. Both Marines and bounty hunters want you dead. It also very much lets other pirates know exactly how much of a threat you are. In other words, in the beginning of the story, you don't want a bounty. It was very meatheadish of Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji to try to flex their bounty numbers in one another. Hey, I have a bounty of like 12. What about you? Ha! My bounty's 16. Suck it, Sanji. And then, of course, Usopp and Chopper are like wetting themselves like, Nani, don't flex your bounties on everyone. That was how I would have voice acted Chopper, but they didn't ask me. I'm still not sure why. But as the story progressed, and once you have a big enough name that you have a big enough bounty that your head is worth enough to literally everyone, low-key, get those bounty numbers as high as you possibly can. You want the clout to carry you. You want people to follow you. The progression of this from the beginning to the end in hindsight is so beautiful and perfect in regard to what bounties are, what different political powers are in the story, and to how powerful every political political power is. So much of politics, in general, is just massive flex-offs, and I'll say that whenever anyone asks. The entire Cold War was essentially a flexing session between America and Russia. Who gathered more weapons? Who got to the moon first? Flex on them Ruskies! That's literally what the entire war was, and a bounty number is a physical embodiment of flexing. Now, we fully understand the idea of growing your bounty numbers as high as you possibly can, and it shares another value as well. It's terrifying to anyone if they bump into someone with a big bounty. Different pirates respect each other differently based on the number of their bounties. When Bellamy bumped into Luffy, he thought he was some country bumpkin with a bounty of 14. Then it turned out, oopsie, his bounty was way higher than Bellamy's, and Bellamy ended up crapping himself before he got the news, unfortunately. It's a very good gaydar for everyone in the story, including the viewers, and also, some of it is fabricated. Welcome to the world of media. And you know I'm serious, because I said the world of media, not the world of media! Okay, that's not a thing. I will never do it again. I'm just very excited talking about the most exciting part of One Piece, self-proclaimed, because the media in the real world lies its butt off, and the media in One Piece has the same exact motive, and that motive is moolah. Big News Morgans, the chief editor of the most read newspaper in the world, still got it, way overplayed Luffy's quote-unquote victory in Whole Cake, which is what gave him that massive clout boost. Partial lies, partial truths, just like our real life. Aw, it feels like home, isn't that nice? But also, in between his misinformation is genuine information. So, when Luffy has a massive accomplishment, everyone all over the seas learns of that accomplishment. Whether it's Dragon, whether it's Crocodile, whether it's the Marines, his impact was known. So now, it brings me back to something I like talking about One Piece in regard to the protagonist growth and the growth of the world. It's not about the world's experience weathering the protagonist, like you have with Naruto or Deku, where their development is based on their different experiences in this vast world. But in One Piece, it's about Luffy, who is a character that pretty much remains stagnant from the beginning to the end, because the story isn't about how the world changes him, it's about how he impacts the world. And because of this, the power of newspapers and bounties is all the more impressive in his regard. Some average bozo pirate will see him walking along and he'll be like, yo, bro, I have a bounty of 1.5 billion, and the guy will just probably die on the spot, which is what I like to call a Nani death. It'll be like, Nani dead! That's how it'll work. Also known as Conqueror's Haki, by the way. Fun fact. Conqueror's Haki, also known as Nani deaths. Patent pending. Amazing flexing as Nani deaths are from Luffy's perspective, that is only one of the many perspectives this anime must cover. Half the beauty is Luffy's growth and impact in the world. The other half the beauty is the world itself. Now, I do believe One Piece has the greatest world building of any fictional thing I've ever read, ever. I'm talking anime, manga, novels. Legit, I don't think I've seen anything that's in the same league as One Piece. That is why One Piece can literally go on forever. There are so many different factions and philosophies within the different factions that every little bit of the puzzle getting fleshed out is just growing our understanding and appreciation, as well as our adoration of this vast world that our main characters are inhabiting. Now, the power of bounties in media flex in another way entirely, gives clout to the villains. It's true, it's always important to understand where Luffy stands. It's important to see how other people perceive Luffy. Kaido saw, oh damn, this big boy has like 1.5 billion bounty. Yeah, it's true, I could one-shot him, but I want him in my crew. And at the same time, smaller Fry will be absolutely positively terrified by him. But bounties don't only work to help Luffy flex, they help the world flex. And you know I'm serious, because I said flex. I don't say flex unless I'm serious, fam. So much of the story, the entire community collectively was begging, pleading to find out the actual bounties of the big names in Zawardo. It helps us put more into perspective. We need more info on Zawardo, god damn it! It's something we need more than something we want. The warlords don't help us either. They all have frozen bounties, so you can't really put them into perspective one against the other either. We only learn about the bounties of the different characters that Luffy actually bumps into along the way. He bumps into Katakuri, so we learn that Katakuri has a bounty of 1 billion, and that was absolutely mind-blowing. So now that every pirate has a defined bounty, and we are left guessing what it is, when it's actually revealed, it gets us to know exactly how much clout they have, and we can immediately compare it to how much clout the protagonist has. When Katakuri was introduced to have 1 billion bounty. At that point, Luffy had 500 million. Katakuri had double Luffy's bounty. Now, Luffy wants to take over the world here. He wants to become the king of the pirates. And Katakuri is a commander of an emperor. Not even the most famous emperor. And the commander of the emperor has over double the bounty of the protagonist that's supposed to be some up-and-coming big shot. How terrifying is that? That is a big flex on Oda's perspective. Exactly how he plays and toys with our minds, hyping us up with the number alone. It's not a defined power level. We We know that he worked for that clout. We know that it's something really, really huge. Every single time a bounty gets introduced to the series, the entire fandom goes completely wild. It's just a number, but prospectively, it helps our entire grasp of the flow of the story. We know exactly why certain characters are afraid of other characters and why some don't want to get into altercations with others. It gives us a perspective and a glance into exactly what's going on in this vast, ridiculously intricate world. Chapter 957 is where we got introduced to the bounties of all the major players of the pirates. Notice I say the pirates. We did not see Dragon. He's a revolutionary. We don't know exactly what his deal is. I'm sure that it will play a massive role in the future, but chapter 957 gave us, at long last, the bounties of the emperors. It was a moment that shook the very foundations of the One Piece fandom. One Piece 957 was #1 on trending in the US. Damn it, that doesn't happen. The hype from that chapter was absolutely astronomical. We got to see exactly how much of a terror these guys are and exactly where they came from. It was low-key the most hype I've ever been reading a chapter of manga, and I am not even exaggerating a little. The flex was huge. I felt flexed on by the mighty prowess of these emperors. Numbers that shouldn't have even been possible to exist in this One Piece world. We got to see them alongside bounties of legends. We saw the bounty of Roger and Whitebeard as well. It was badass to the extreme. Now, I will be getting back to this point, but I also wanted to allow you to understand my feeling of this and why it's so cool that bounties are only on the dark side of the Force, or at least the alleged dark side of the Force. We know that Luffy has antagonists on both sides of the spectrum. We got the authoritarian might of the world government and the Marines, and we have the anarchist chaos of other pirates like Blackbeard and Kaido. Two completely diametrically opposed philosophical forces that both clash on Luffy. Luffy is a morally righteous individual, which kind of fits into the mindset of the Marines. But at the same time, he's a big fan of freedom and not needing to bend to the whims of others, much more inclined to the anarchist ideals of the pirates. So, being this middle-of-the-road dude with enemies on both sides of the ideological spectrum, it's fascinating that the alleged bad guys in the world are the ones with these massive bounties that flex on everyone, and we're left guessing at the imperial might of the Marines, who are not defined, leaving us in that state of intrigue. If you have power levels on a generic standpoint, we know exactly how strong everyone is. We can know that if Akainu is a power level of 57 and he's up against Kaido with a power level of 61, Kaido's gonna kick his butt. But we don't have that. Not only are bounties not exactly defined by physical might, I believe Shanks is stronger than both Kaido and Big Mama, even though he has a lower bounty, because he's not as infamous, being that he's only been an emperor for 6 years, unlike Kaido and Big Mom. We know that when Kaido was heading towards the Marineford War, Shanks single-handedly stopped him, said, "Nah, fam, you ain't going there," and Kaido was like, "Okay, sir, I'm heading the other direction," which was a huge flex. But we know that Shanks is a mad lad, even though his bounty is lower than Kaido's, who's been an emperor for a long, long time. So even though there is some level of comparison between pirates when it comes to bounties, that is completely nullified when it comes to the Marines. Another powerhouse force in the story of One Piece, and a force that we do not understand the level of power or clout that any individual character possesses. Garp, being an absolute mad lad, came to us as a massive surprise in chapter 957. Oh my god, it's almost like everything was in there. If he would have had a bounty, that wouldn't have been a surprise. We would have been like, oh, why did this guy have like some massive bounty? But since he's a Marine and his bounty is not there, he only has the status of Vice Admiral. We learned that, nah fam, he's stronger than most of the admirals probably. He just didn't want the admiral position for whatever reason. It gives us a glance at the world and how it's made up, but it doesn't actually define anything. So now, another massive flex, and this is on a meta level of the One Piece bounty checkbook. That is its flexes on the actual One Piece fandom. You ever heard the expression info dumps? It's when someone dumps an F-ton of info on you, and it's a negative connotation. If I'm watching a show and it's like a cool fight scene, then it's like, wait a second, why are they fighting? And then they stop to fight. And then they go into like a 25-minute discussion. Oh, I'm actually attacking you because my planet was killed by rabid vultures, so now I decided I'm gonna kill out half of life in the universe to set balance to the Force. And if it takes him 20 minutes to explain that and explain all the massive plot twists in the story thus far, it's a massive info dump and it sucks. It has to be naturally integrated into a story in order to be awesome. In a nutshell, that is why the Hunter x Hunter anime is way better than the Hunter x Hunter manga. Manga has info dumps. You can have pages upon pages of explaining one certain ability, and in the anime, due to its visual storytelling as well, it very much avoids and circumvents this issue, not dumping the info on you. Now that I've explained the very obvious concept of info dumps, dumping all that info on you, see what I did there? One Piece absolutely flex on everyone, because when One Piece info dumps, the entire fandom is collectively having a massive erection. When most stories info dump, the story is being proactive about it. The fandom didn't necessarily ask for anything, but the story is introducing a new cog in the massive machine that we will later thank them for. Yes, I love Nen. It's my favorite power system of all time, and that's completely in retrospect. When they started explaining to me the different schnizzlets that went into Nen, I was like, Nigurendayo! But the information we're getting in One Piece, on the contrary, is more reactive. At this point, as every mystery is unraveled, two more mysteries begin. We are so thirsty for information about the world of One Piece that we've come to love. Anything Oda gives us feels like a goddamn treat. That's right, flexing on is hard, with literal info dumps that everyone in the world of One Piece knows. The bounties to the emperors is common knowledge in the world of One Piece. It wasn't a massive reveal even in the story itself, but it's info that we so desperately craved. For the longest time, it was dynamic to have chapter 957, where it was literally just Sengoku telling Marines, fun fact, fam, let me give y'all a little history lesson, and we ate it up entirely. That is a massive flex. Developing a world with world building so intricate that literally any bit of common stance information is so sought after by everyone, that is phenomenal. When the fandom, along with everyone in the world of One Piece, is reading the new newspaper articles of how Blackbeard's forces fought with the remnants of Whitebeard's forces, or how Blackbeard's forces attacked the Revolutionary Army, or that the Revolutionary Army attacked the Reverie. All these things are so fascinating to us, and so fascinating to everyone in the world itself. The biggest flex in One Piece is the greatness of media, and the absolute power it actually holds. Because in One Piece, knowledge literally is power. Well, I guess power is also power to certain parameters. There is so much mystery in the history, though. You gotta have respect for a series where literally every single character's perspective is sought after. You have a guy like Doflamingo who's sitting in a jail cell just cackling reading the newspaper and is the most dynamic thing ever. Oda, thank you for this masterwork of yours. I'm extremely hyped for what is to come. I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to smash like if you did, and subscribe if you want more One Piece or anime content. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on the greatness of One Piece's media and why the flex is actually supreme. Links in the description to my Twitter, feel free to follow me there. To my Patreon, feel free to pledge. To my Twitch, feel free to follow me on that platform. To my subreddit, feel free to join. To the Rant Cafe Podcast, where I am a co-host and where we upload weekly. And to my merch, feel free to pick some up. I'm glad I got to give a little respect to the biggest flex in One Piece, because honestly, I really just wanted to reaffirm my position from an entirely new angle on why, despite all of the incredible badassery that transpires in the series, the news is still the most exciting part. Have yourselves the most wonderful evening, and remember to stay weird, fam.